Alright, I had just a few minutes this evening, so I thought I would show you a neat little map I found. This is at the National Archive, the Library of Congress. And the Army of Cumberland is one of the armies that fell under Sherman's command during the march through Georgia and subsequent actions. But we'll navigate on this map just to call out a few places and to try to answer a few stories that happened here before. So kind of all these movements. Let's see if we can make this thing bigger. There we go. So all these movements up in this area. This is coming down into the battle for Atlanta. And you can kind of see where all that happens. Now, what I'm more concerned with is the stuff that happened to the east of Atlanta, because it kind of talks about a couple of things that are unique to me. So, Atlanta going due east, you can see a couple of unique places. Let's zoom in. It's about as far as we can get. Right here's the city of Lawrenceville, and you'll notice that there are several dotted blue lines. In this case, those are lines that indicate cavalry movements, but in these particular lines, they're actually chasing Jefferson Davis. So this is 1865 movement. Now, a couple of other things that are unique to look at. You see Chinkapin Grove right here on the road between Lawrenceville, Mulberry, and Jefferson. Here's Auburn. This is kind of the former area of Decula, and this is Chinkapin Grove. My grandfather told me the Chinkapins were actually near where Decula Elementary School is. So right there is where this original road crossed right there where the Hebron Church, the post office is now. That's this road. It would have gone up and gone by the old Stanley Place, up and down Kings Hill, and gone into Lawrenceville. Now, you notice that Palmer, in his attempt to chase Jefferson Davis, comes out of Athens and goes out to Jug Tavern. Of course, that's Winder. And then kind of comes overland to the area of Lawrenceville. Now, there's a couple of different there's one family story, and then there's an article that Goose McAdams sent me. In the newspaper, it talked about Yankee cavalry riding up and down the road in 65. And so that lady that wrote that article lived kind of between the Appalachian and the Alcovy rivers. So she would have seen a group of Palmer's men, a group of Bentleys, and maybe some of Betts that would have all been in this area. So there would have been Union cavalry activity there. Now, keep in mind, Lawrenceville was of course, raided in 64 during the battle for Atlanta, and these dotted lines are 65. So it sees a couple of things that happen. As we go further down, you can see coming out of Atlanta, this is the Georgia Railroad. That's the older railroad line for this area. Notice it comes out and it makes a bend at Stone Mountain, commonly called the Giant Sugarloaf. It makes its way to Lithonia, Conyers, all the way out this direction as it moves out toward Greensboro. Here's Madison. Of course, this area now is, I've just moved further down the Appalachia River to where we live now, but you'll notice that on this pursuit of Davis, you had a group that comes just outside of Rutledge and a group that goes through Madison. Then you also see these marks here. This is for a corps of Sherman's left wing on the march to the sea, where they march their way out to Madison. Now, when this red line, which is the march to the sea of the left wing of Sherman's army, when they got to Madison, they actually split up. And two divisions, might have been three, I'm shooting from the hip here, but I know only one division, I believe the 2nd Division, was detached to move on toward Greensboro. They saw the bridge over the Oconee was already burned by Geary's forces, which was from an earlier raid, so they turn and move down along by Parks Mill, come in the back way, and join up with the rest of those divisions just outside of Eatonton there. Some of them come across before, some of them down lower. That gives you an idea of some of the things that happened right in there. Now, let's call our attention back over here. Right down here we see Macon, Georgia. Now you'll notice, you see Kilpatrick, Stoneman. So Stoneman, he's trying to duplicate a raid that was performed earlier all along these routes, the ones that came out here and destroyed all the bridge. Stoneman wants to do it one better, and so he's convinced Sherman that he can take his cavalry troops and swoop down, capture Macon, and then make a swoop on further down to get near Andersonville, which is down here, just outside of Americus in that direction. Now, the problem is he's going to be riding tired horses by the time he gets here. He's on unfamiliar country, crawling with local militia, and the majority of the Union Army is up here around Atlanta and Jonesboro and Rough and Ready. He essentially is turned back outside of Macon, comes back up to the area around Clinton, just the other side of Clinton, Round Oak, and at that point up here at Hillsboro is where Stoneman is actually surrounded and defeated. He is captured along with the majority of his command. A number of his troopers just break and run and try to get away. They eventually get back together over in this area and then decide to make their way up toward Athens. And what happens is essentially Adams and Capron's, the remainder of their brigades, and actually only about a third of them have guns because the rest of them have thrown them down to get away. So as they're riding north, one group makes their way through Shady Dale, up through Madison, and over to Watkinsville. The other group kind of comes up the other side, comes through that area of Rutledge, up through Fairplay, and then makes their way over to Watkinsville, probably crossing over at the High Shoals. Now, at Watkinsville, Adams and Capron come up with a plan to assault Athens. They are turned back, but for whatever reason, Capron takes the wrong road out of town or doesn't get the signal that they're to circumvent. Well, Adams' command is able to make it back around and over to Marietta. Capron's men takes a different route, and so they move kind of in this direction over toward Jug Tavern. So they come out of here, follow the road, the Hog Mountain Road to Jug Tavern, and then as they're attempting to make it back across, as they cross the Mulberry River, they've been riding solid since they left Atlanta. They're tired. Right before they cross the Mulberry, Capron lets them lay down and take a nap. The Orphan Brigade, which is the Kentucky Brigade, is in pursuit. They overrun the pickets in the early morning hours and capture almost everyone. Only 4 folks make it back across out of that command, so pretty abysmal failure as far as raids go. While we're there, called you out a couple of other places, Chestnut Hill. That's an exit off of 985 here. This is Young's Tavern, and it takes you down to the Chattahoochee River right up here. This would have been Robert Young. This is not far from where the Falcons training complex is. You'll see the Young Cemetery up on top of that hill. And see if there's any other places. There's Alcova Mountain, which, if you're riding around, you've seen that called out on some things. There's Flat Rock. A lot of these names are familiar. A lot of them are different, but maybe that gives you a little bit of a picture about the area, how some of the troops would have moved in and out in those directions. And as always, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out, and hope you'll have a happy new year. Thanks.